Alan, can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Lovely, thank you.
Oh, that one.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. Councillors here and those joining us on virtually, officers, public press and members of the public. Welcome, everybody. Could I just ask members of the executive to introduce themselves, please? Councillor Taylor. Councillor Farrell.
Joe Farrell, Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care and Health.
Councillor Benson.
Good evening, Leader. Councillor Kath Benson, Cabinet Member for Community Development, Aspiration and Community Assets.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, Councillor Neil Brooks, Cabinet Member for Enforcement, Public Safety, Highways and Transport.
Councillor Smith.
Councillor Mark Smith, for Cabinet Member for Business, Enterprise and Job Creation.
Councillor Hobson.
Councillor Jim Hobson, Cabinet Member for Children's Social Care and Schools.
Thank you. Councillor Hugo.
Councillor Jane Hugo, Cabinet Member for Climate Change and Water.
Councillor Hunter.
Councillor Peter Hunter, Cabinet Assistant.
Thank you. So, well, obviously, if you want to speak, anybody, then raise your hands in the usual way and keep your microphone off. Agenda item 1, declarations of interest. Does anybody have any declarations? Councillor Benson?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, item 6, I want to declare a DPI interest as my husband is an employee of Blackpool Transport Services, and I will leave the room when the item is discussed. Thank you.
Thank you. There's an additional item, excuse me, exclusion of public and press from item 10. So I propose that the public and press be excluded from the consideration of agenda item 10, Golden Mile tender exercise. This is on the grounds that this item contains a likely disclosure of information not for publication by virtue of paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. This information contains ongoing negotiations with third parties, and the public interest would be served by making this information public at the point once the negotiations are concluded. Parts of that information will be published. I move that proposal recommendation. Will somebody second? Can I have a show of hands, please?
And that's agreed.
Thank you. Agenda item 2, drugs-related death scrutiny review final report. I believe Mark Terrors introducing the report, or
Councillor Hutton.
or Councillor Hutton.
Chair, I can certainly give an overview. This is a report that's been done through the Adult Health and Social Care Scrutiny Committee and Councillor Hutton here on behalf of the recommendations, and within the recommendations for the comments from the cabinet member as well, Councillor Hugo, who may wish to comment later in the debate. So I can pass over to Councillor Hutton now, if that's okay.
Thank you.
I'm happy to present this report. There are 9 recommendations in the report, and I won't go into all of them because I'm assuming everybody's read it. And I think that it's a good report, and I would recommend it to the executive. I'm happy to answer questions if there's any specific questions.
Thank you. Questions? No? I agree. I think it's very... and our thanks to, obviously, the Scrutiny Committee for another really good, intensive piece of work, important, very important area, and the recommendations. So...
I think by accident I said Councillor Joel Farrell. I do beg your pardon, Chair.
Councillor Farrell to move the resolution.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I move the recommendation. I think it's 2.1. It's actually a really good review, and happy to accept all recommendations. Thank you.
Okay, I'm happy to second. Can we have a show of hands, please?
And that's agreed, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, Meals on Wheels Scrutiny Review Final Report. So we'll return to Councillor Hutton again.
Again, Chair, it was quite a detailed scrutiny. We didn't come up with maybe what people actually wanted, but having looked at it and tried to get the information for a comprehensive across the town Meals on Wheels supplied by the council, there didn't appear to be any options for that. So we're recommending that the leaflet be printed and go out to all of the various bodies in the report, so that if people are looking for Meals on Wheels or meals, you know, to be provided, then they will have all of the information there. And the leaflet is being produced at the moment. So I would again recommend the report to the executive.
Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. The only comment I have to make is that the leaflet is accessible to all. So from one suggestion I made was that there was an easy read leaflet prepared for people with learning disabilities, but happy to accept the recommendations and propose recommendation 2.1.
Thank you. I'm happy to second. Can I have a show of hands, please?
That's agreed.
Thank you. Item 4, review of sex establishment policy. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. The licence of sex establishments is governed by Schedule 3 of the Local Government Act 1982. And as part of this, it's good practice to publish a policy in relation to how the council will determine applications for sex establishments in the area. The current policy that's been reviewed has been in force since 2016. As a white ribbon accredited authority and a family-friendly destination, we're working towards a zero limit on the number of sexual entertainment venues, lap dancing clubs. To protect the current 4 businesses who are currently licensed, they will be able to continue as long as they comply with the legislation and licence conditions. However, once a licence is surrendered or revoked, for example, any new application will be considered against the limit of 0. The Licensing Committee have fully and robustly considered this matter and taken into account consultation and the feedback that's set out at Appendix A and B, even though some of that was received after the consultation closing date. They approved the proposed policy at its meeting on 21st of September 2021. The Licensing Committee therefore recommended the sex establishment policy to the Executive, and I propose that we agree, taking account of all feedback, whether within or beyond the consultation cut-off date, and approve the sex establishment policy, which will be effective until the 31st of December 2026. So in terms of the formal resolution, I'd ask you to note the comments received within the time frame of the consultation attached to Appendix 4A to the Executive report, but agree that no amendments be made to the policy in response to these comments. To consider the late recommendation 2, to consider the late responses received in respect of the consultation attached at Appendix 4B to the Executive Report, but agree that no amendments be made to the policy in response to those comments. And 3, to approve the revised sex establishment policy as recommended by the Licensing Committee attached at Appendix 4C to the Executive Report, with effect until the 31st of December 2026.
Thank you. Happy to second. Previous. Does anybody have any questions? No, I'm still happy to second then. So can I have a show of hands, please?
That's agreed.
Thank you. Agenda item 5, flood risk management strategy. Councillor Hugo.
Thank you, Chair. I'm delighted to present the local flood risk management strategy for Lancashire, which is hugely important, particularly in the light of the climate change agenda, and has been a huge undertaking and collaboration between Blackpool, Lancashire County Council and Blackburn with Darwen. As a council, we recognise the importance to residents, businesses and visitors of ensuring they are safe and protected as much as possible from the impact of flooding. Working with colleagues from across the county, as water knows no boundaries. Under the Flood and Water Management Act 2010, as a lead local flood authority, we are required to produce a flood risk management strategy. This process has been extremely robust and being the subject of significant input from the Tourism, Economy and Communities Scrutiny Committee, including a scrutiny review panel and, in addition, public consultation. A comprehensive business plan has been produced, which is vital to the potential of flood risk, which includes 6 key themes as follows. Firstly, delivering effective flood risk management. Number 2, understanding our local risks and challenges. Number 3, supporting sustainable flood resilient development. Number 4, improving engagement with our flood family. Number 5, maximising investment opportunities to better protect our businesses and communities. And number 6, contributing towards a sustainable climate resilient Lancashire. So, as such, Chair, I am pleased to recommend that we approve the Lancashire Flood Risk Management Strategy and Business Plan 21 to 27 and to commence implementation of the actions as soon as its formal launch with LCC and Blackburn with Darwen on the 17th of November 2021. Thank you. Yes.
And that's agreed.
Agenda item 6, bus service improvement plan. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, it's basically to approve the draft outline of bus service improvement plan. It's attached to Appendix 6 to the Executive Report. Essentially, we need to have in place a bus improvement plan if we're going to access funding to improve our services to residents in the future.
Sorry, Councillor Brooks, can you use your microphone?
Apologies, I'll start again. Yeah, basically we've got to have a bus improvement plan in place if we're going to access funding from central government in future. They said that all areas need to do that and provide their intentions over the next few years. The draft service improvement plan attached to Appendix 6A is there for all to consider, and we're looking to grant authority to the Director of Communications and Regeneration to make any necessary minor amendments to the bus service improvement plan before submission to the Department for Transport by the end of October 2021, and to agree that the enhanced partnership plan and schemes document be submitted to a subsequent executive for approval so that the enhanced partnership can be established by the deadline of 31st of March 22. liaising closely with local bus operators and Lancashire County Council on cross-boundary issues.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll second it, and if we could have a show of hands, please.
It's agreed.
Welcome back, Councillor Benson. Agenda item 7, proposed appropriation of land at Blackpool Central. I don't know, Alan, did you want to say anything on this item?
I certainly can do a brief introduction, Leader, if that's okay. So this is in connection with the Blackpool Central project, and what we're seeking to do is to appropriate a smallish area of land that allows the development of the car park, which is subject to a planning application tomorrow night at Planning Committee. So this would only come into effect if the Planning Commission is approved tomorrow night at Planning Committee. And it is this particular appropriation allows the council to interfere with the rights of tenants on our own land in respect of their rights of access. So that's the purpose of the appropriation. I should point out that that interference with rights of access comes with a compensatory right as well. So this would allow the car park to develop in a timely fashion, should it be approved at committee tomorrow night.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? No. Can I move recommendations for approval at 1, 2, 3 and 4 of the agenda? Thank you. Show of hands, please.
That's agreed.
Thank you. Agenda item 8, short break statement and criteria assessment and support from children's social care. I believe, Vicky, are you there?
I am, Leader, thank you.
Thank you.
So, yeah, a little bit of background from me. So I'm seeking executive approval of the revised short break statement and the criteria for assessment and support from children's social care. So the previous statement was written in 2018. We do have a duty under regulations to regularly review the statement. So this refreshed statement isn't a significant departure from the previous statement, but really brings it up to date around policy procedure. There's been quite extensive consultation with children and families, and there's greater clarity around the eligibility criteria. The Parents Forum have met with myself and have attended our monthly SEND board and are now much happier with the offer and the clarity around that eligibility. The report and the statement does set out the categories of short breaks. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hobson, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. Rather than just basically repeat everything Vicky's just said, just I think it covers things quite nicely. The documents you'll find attached to the report are the kind of documents that we look at every few years. And as such, the amendments are reasonably minor, actually. So, yeah, happy to support the report and move recommendations 2.1, 2.2 and 2.3.
Thank you. Happy to second. Have a show of hands, please.
That's agreed.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicky. Agenda item 9, financial performance monitoring as at month 4. Are you calling Mr. Thompson? Are you there, Steve?
I'm here. This is this is a report as at month 4. So this only takes us to the end of July, which is some time ago. This is due to sort of timing differences. And on the face of it, we've seen a deterioration between months 3 and 4 of 2.6 million. The bulk of that was a payoff of the local government employers made in July of 1.75%, which hasn't yet been accepted. But that in itself equates to about £1.5 million. So that's probably a minimum for this year. In addition, we've seen further pressure on children's social care of £500,000, and that's not necessarily numbers, but complexity of cases. And lastly, we've seen an increase in the costs of COVID from 3.5 to 4.2 million, some £700,000. And that is because we expected COVID restrictions to ease at the end of June. And if you recall, they continued through to the 19th of July. So there are some consequences of that. I have, however, seen some draft figures for month 5, and Executive will be receiving those in early November. And they are very encouraging and reflect the bounce back that today's Gazette's been reporting, the buoyant tourism economy during the summer. On the downside, the collection rates for council tax and business rates are still disappointing, but again, that was as at the end of July. And it wasn't really until August, September when we were able to issue reminders and final notices and also summonses. So I do expect that to improve as the year progresses. And on a final positive note, in relation to our wholly owned companies, we were forecasting at the start of the year some 5.6 million of cumulative losses across the 8 companies. At month 4, that has reduced to 3.5 million and continues to reduce from the figures that I've seen lately.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any? Councillor Smith?
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Steve, for your report. A couple of questions on there. You talked about, we talked about number 5 and 6 going forward, just looking a bit more positive. How do you foresee the forecast towards year end come in for this financial year? That's one question. And second question, I want to make a positive comment regarding looking at the car parking. We can see a big bounce back to pre-COVID. Looks like some of it may be greater than pre-COVID. So as we can see, with the sort of, as you can see in the report you said in the local Gazette today, that Blackpool's bouncing back. So this has shown a good indication of where we're going forward. So any comments on that as well, please? Thank you, Steve.
Yes, certainly, Councillor Smith, and the two are very much related. The car parking figures are a barometer for the popularity of Blackpool during the summer season, and that is continuing. So yeah, we haven't got month 6's figures yet, but as I say, month 5, extremely encouraging in the tourism related areas of car parking, our leisure assets, our water park company, and so on. The only question mark towards the end of the year is, as I said earlier, the pay award, which so far has not yet been accepted by the unions. That could increase. And hopefully, in relation to children's social care, where we've seen pressures in the past, we're seeing some stabilisation and plateauing now. So hopefully, we'll see that continuing, if not improve further.
Thanks, Steve. The grant, obviously, for the impact of COVID stopped July. Those areas that continue to be affected, do you think that sort of lobbying central government, and I know obviously other local authorities are impacted the same way, do you think there's likely to be any further assistance in that regard?
I would hope so. Certainly all the local authority networks that are lobbying, particularly around sales fees and charges. And the deadline for the April to June submission is not until next week. So that's been very much delayed. And of course, everybody's incurring legacy costs of COVID, running in not just to the 19th of July, but also beyond that.
Thank you. Anybody, anything else? No? If I can move resolutions at 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 in the agenda. Show of hands, please.
That's agreed.
Thank you.